everyone. Today I'm going to teach you how to expand binomials. So the first thing you're going to ask is, what is a binomial? Well, bi means two, so it's where we're going to have two terms that are separated by a plus or a minus. So you look at x plus 3, that's a binomial, okay? 2x minus 4y, that's a binomial. And what we're going to do is we're going to take these binomials and raise them to powers, and we're going to multiply those out. Now, if you were actually here, this is what I would have done. I would have had you get in partners, and I would have you practice just multiplying them out the good old-fashioned way, which is if I did 2x plus 1 squared, that means I'd multiply 2x plus 1 with itself, which means I've got a lobster claw, and then I'm going to combine like terms, and then it's all multiplied out. It's in standard form rather than factored form. Not too bad, but then you'd get a harder one. This one's a little harder because you have a cube. So that means I've got x minus 5 multiplied with x minus 5. Once again, x minus 5. So I would have to go and multiply this first one out, simplify, combine like terms, and then distribute it again with this one and then multiply it out. A little bit harder, but still you should be able to do that. But then I add, another one. This one's to the 4th power and it has a negative. That means I'd have them written out 4 times. Which means I'd have to distribute here, here, simplify, and then multiply again. And you're seeing this is getting kind of tedious. It's a lot of algebra, a lot of writing. It takes up a lot of space. And this is when students usually ask, isn't there an easier way? Oh, that one. Oh, that does not look fun, right? Writing it out 5 times, multiplying. Isn't there an easier way? And I'm going to teach you, yes, there is an easier way. Now, to help you understand how to use that easier way, I'm going to just work through this with you real quick. Let's start out by actually taking the binomial x plus 1 and raising it to different patterns. Now, as we're doing this, I want you to, raising it to different powers, and I want you to look for patterns as we do that. X plus 1 to the 0. Well, anything to the 0 power is 1. X plus 1 to the 1, if it's raised to the 1 power, it stays the same. X plus 1 squared, that's going to be x squared plus 2x plus 1. If you want to check me on that, you're welcome to. X plus 1 cubed is x cubed plus 3x squared plus 3x plus 1. Lastly, we're going to have x plus 1 to the 4th. That would be x to the 4th plus 4x cubed plus 6x squared plus 4x plus 1. Now again, I have it memorized, but if you just multiply it out, you can see that this is what it would look like. Now, let's get rid of the x's. Let's just write the coefficients here, okay? What I have is I have 1. And if I look at the coefficient here, I have 1, 1. Now I go 1, 2, 1. 1, 3, 3, 1. 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. That's just the coefficients over here. But what I want you to look for is there a pattern that I could get from this row to this row, from this row to this row, from this row to this row? Do you have any guesses what the next row would be? It would be 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, 1. Now, if you're like, where'd you get that from? Hopefully you're starting to see a pattern. How this is working is I'm taking these two numbers and adding them together to get the 3's. 1 plus 3 is 4, 3 plus 3 is 6, 3 plus 1 is 4. So I start with 1s and then I just kind of keep going. So 1 and 4 is 5, 4 and 6 is 10. Do you have a guess what the next row would be? 1, 6, 15, 20, 15, 6, and 1. Now, this is just going to keep going and going. This is called Pascal's triangle. No, not that Pascal. Actually, this guy, a French mathematician named Blaise Pascal. Pretty cool name. Now, Pascal's triangle is really cool because it helps us in expanding binomials. There's also a lot of other cool things with it, but we're just going to use it to expand binomials. So here's a Pascal's triangle. It's going to help us figure out the coefficients when we expand to different powers. So I'll show you how to do that. Here are Mr. Solberg's steps to expanding binomials. Step 1, you're going to take the first term in the binomial and you're going to write it out in descending order. Descending means you're going high to low. Okay? Then we're going to take the second term, we're going to write it out in ascending order. That means you're going from low to high. Then we're going to write in the coefficients from Pascal's triangle and simplify. Now we're going to use these steps over and over again. So if you need to go back and look at these, then do that, or pause the video, write them down. So let's start off with a pretty easy one. X plus 5 to the third. We want to expand that. It's not too hard. You could probably multiply this out, but let's get the idea of how to do this. What we're going to do is take our first term, which is x, write it in write it in descending order, going from high to low. You're going to start with that number. That's our high number. So I'm going to start with x to the third. Then I'm going to jump over and go x to the 2, x to the 1, x to the 0. See how I went? Descending order. I started high, then I went to low. Step 1 is done. Now to step 2, I'm going to take the 5 and write it in ascending order. That means it's going up. So I'm going to start it at 0 and then go to 1, 2, 3. That's step 2. Now we go to step 3, which is we're going to write in the coefficients from Pascal's triangle. We're going to use the ones on the third that have a 3. See how we have a 3? We're going to use the one that has a 3. So I'm going to put a 1 here, a 3 here, a 3 here, and a 1 here. Now we're going to simplify that. Anything that's raised to the 0 power is just a 1, so I'm actually going to just cross those out. And let's simplify. I have 1x cubed, which is just x cubed. 5 times 3 is 15, x squared. 5 squared is 25 times 3 is 75. And 5 cubed is 125. So if I wanted to expand this without multiplying it out, this is what it would be. That's that in standard form. That's how we use those steps. Pretty cool. Now you might be thinking, well, that seems just as much work as multiplying it out. Well, that was only to the third. What if it was to the fourth or fifth? This is a much easier way. We're going to do some more examples, okay? Let's look at this one. We have our first term is x. Our second term is negative 3y. We're going to see how do we work with that negative as well as with a 3. We have a coefficient and another variable. So we got a lot of things going on here. Let's see how that works. And we're raised to the 4th power. So here's what we're going to do. Follow those same 3 steps. We're going to start with, let's write x in descending order. So I have 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Now I'm going to write the negative 3y in ascending order. It's going low to high. Now, it's really important if you have a negative, a coefficient, or both, which we see here, that you write this in parentheses. So I'm going to put negative 3y to the 0, negative 3y to the 1, negative 3y to the 2, negative 3y to the 3, and negative 3y to the 4. Those parentheses are really going to help us out when we are simplifying. Now, with that step 2, we're going to go to the 4th row of Pascal's triangle. We're going to add in these coefficients here. This is 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. Alright, now, simplifying might take more than one step, as you're going to see here. I'm going to cross out anything that's raised to the 0 power, because that's just 1. Alright, let's go to this one. I have 1x to the 4th. That's pretty simple. On this one, I'm going to have 4 times negative 3y, because to the 1 it keeps it the same. So that's negative 12. I have x cubed and a y. Here, I'm going to take negative 3y and I'm going to square it. So I'm going to do that real quick before I multiply it by the 6. Negative 3 squared is a positive 9. That's why I had you write it in parentheses so you remember to square the negative as well as the 3. So this is actually a positive 9y squared. Then I'm going to multiply the 9 and 6, and that's going to be 54x squared y squared. Then we're going to come over to this one, negative 3 cubed. That's going to be negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. That's going to be negative 27y cubed. Now, I'm going to multiply the negative 27 by 4. And just to make sure I don't mess this up, I'm going to get a calculator. 4 times negative 27 is negative 108. So this is going to be negative 108 xy cubed. Then for our last one here, we have negative 3 to the 4th. Negative 3 to the 4th is 81. So this is going to be 81 y to the 4th. Now this one was a little bit messier because of the negatives. And you could imagine multiplying this out 4 times, you probably would have made a mistake. But it's a little bit easier if you follow my steps. Now, a good way to check your work is your exponents. If I look at both variables, the exponents should always add up to 4. I have 4 x's, no y's, adds to 4. 3 plus 1 is 4, 2 plus 2 is 4, 1 and 3 is 4, 4 and 0 is 4. Another thing is that if you have a negative, it should alternate. It should go positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. So that's a good way you could check your work. Alright, we are going to do 2 more, and then hopefully that's enough for you to go ahead and start your quiz and feel pretty good about this, alright? Alright, let's go to b minus 3 to the 4th. We're going to take b and write it out in descending order. I confuse those two, but we're going from high to low. So I've got b to the 4, b to the 3, b to the 2, b to the 1, and b to the 0. Then we're going to add in the negative 3 to the 4th. Remember, with the negatives, you're going to put parentheses, and we go in ascending order from low to high. And I'm kind of running out of room here, so sorry, I'm going to squish that over with the triangle. And now we're going to add in the coefficients from Pascal's triangle. We're going to use the one that has a 4. I'm going to put in 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. And now we simplify. Negative 3 to the 0 just goes away. So I start off with b to the 4th. Negative 3 to the 1 is still negative 3, and negative 3 times 4 is negative 12, b to the 3rd. Now we're going to do negative 3 squared is 9, and 9 times 6 is 54, b squared. I feel like we're seeing similar numbers to the last one. Negative 3 cubed is negative 27. Negative 27 times 4 is negative 108. B. And then negative 4, or sorry, b to the 0 is 1. Negative 3 to the 4th is going to be a positive 81. So I think that was actually, I want to go back and check. We saw similar numbers to one that we saw before. I think it was before we multiplied it out. Negative 12, 54, 1, negative 108. Yeah, so we're seeing similar numbers there, but we didn't have 2 variables. All right, last one. This one has 2 coefficients. So it's going to get a little crazy. So if you can do this, then you should be able to do all of them. Just remember your steps. Keep it simple. So our first step is to take our first term, which is 2x, and write it in descending order, high to low. And remember that if you have a coefficient, you need to put it in parentheses. The most common mistake people make is they don't put the parentheses, so they forget that 2 needs to be raised to the third as well as the x. Sorry, the 3 goes here. So I'm going to take 2x to the 3, to the 2, to the 1, and to the 0. Then let's take 3y, and we're going to raise that to the 0, to the 1, to the 2, to the 3. Then we're going to go to the third row. We're going to add in a 1, a 3, 3, and a 1. Okay. Anything raised to the 0 goes away. And we're going to simplify. 2 cubed is 8, and I've got 8 times 1. That's going to be 8x cubed. And I might need to do some simplifying as we're going here. And that's okay. Don't try to do it all at once and mess up. Here I'm going to take 2, and I'm going to square it. And I'm going to take the x and square it. So this is actually going to be 3 times 4 times 3. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 times 3 is 36. I have 2 x's and 1 y, which should, that exponent should add up to 3, so we're good. Okay, now let's go on this one. I'm going to square the 3, so that's going to be 9y squared. So 3 times 2 is 6. 6 times 9 is 54xy squared. And then lastly, the 0 power cancels, or it just becomes 1. 3 cubed is 27 y to the third. So now we have expanded the binomials. So it's a cool little trick. Start the homework. If you're feeling good, try the quiz. Remember, you can take the quiz as many times as you want. And if you're confused or stuck, please email me and I'll help you out. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.